You want an investment edge, but all you hear is noise, hype, and half-truths. Every signal is solid information, but only if you can see the bigger picture. This is where the Quasar magic happens. Weather, charts, news, all financial signals funneled into a single dashboard. Data alone isn't enough. Quasar Markets turns it into energy, sharp, clear, precise. Optimize with Quasar Markets today. Your edge when investing.
Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. Look who came to join us. He said he wasn't coming in, but then he had a little time, so he got our main man, BigBeat. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm good, Howard. I'm up in New York for a NASDAQ event, and looking forward to seeing how the economy is rolling around, or not. Yeah, I'm super excited. Some big things happened over the weekend. I think we need to get to it, man. There's just so much going on.
Yeah, I mean, you got to start with OpenAI and AMD, 6 gigawatts of compute power, up to 160 million in AMD warrants.
Yeah.
Who's buying who here, though?
Well, Lisa Su said something very interesting over the weekend. She said, look, it's tied to stock price, right? It's also tied to a few other things. And that's making them have to work at it to get the whole deal. But look, we know we've been, Howard, you and I have been talking about it for, I can't tell you how long. The three things you're going to need is money, these connections, these ecosystem that we're building too. We get it. We understand we're in the same boat. And you need energy. Energy has been the key. So they know this, they understand it. It's quantum computing, and quantum computing is going to need energy, and they're going to need these huge warehouses. They're building that too. So there's all these things that are happening. Is changing the economy completely. So yeah, this makes sense to me. And OpenAI is doing it right by not just saying, "Oh, we'll just love on AMD. We'll love on AMD. We'll love on Nvidia. We don't care. Bring it all into the system." And I think that's definitely what's happening. I like this deal.
Okay, and like I said, they're going to deploy 6 gigawatts of AMD chips, kicking it off with the MI450, rolling out over multiple years. The first gigawatt land in the second half of next year for inference workloads.
Yep.
My part of it, though, is OpenAI, I thought it was a nonprofit, receives a warrant for up to 160 million AMD shares at 1 penny per share, vesting in tranches based upon deployment and stock hurdles. Roughly 10% of AMD if fully earned.
What is it? The song "Blurred Lines." Look, it's very simple. We are now in an administration that does blur those lines, and I think these lines are getting blurred. You're right. They don't need to be a nonprofit. They need to be a profitable company. I don't care. I know they're getting sued by Elon because of it. It's nonsense. Become a profitable company. It needs to be that. The nonprofit side of this, maybe you just split it apart, right? Maybe the company becomes a little bit of both.
Or you can have a stewardship like you see in a lot of the crypto foundations that oversee the different platforms and stuff. There's a bunch of different ways there. It diversifies OpenAI's vendor base, and it tightens their AMD alignment, and it directly challenges NVIDIA's AI data center dominance. Are you down on NVIDIA today? Are you buying the dip? It was down. It is down about 1% here, a little over 1.5%, almost 1.5% earlier.
No, NVIDIA is still NVIDIA. I'm not going to change anything on that. I will say that this does help. Separating a little bit of the powers here. I mean, you need competition, right? If you don't have competition, then there's a problem, right? An ecosystem still has to have a little bit of that competition. Even an ecosystem like we're building, right? We still need some competition. I mean, you're gonna get a better product out, a better hardware in this case, and then of course NVIDIA might be beating in AMD on the software side too, right? So I'm not too worried about it, to be honest with you. I'm really not.
Absolutely. From a competitive chessboard, NVIDIA still looks like the preferred supplier of the next-gen roadmap, aiming at 2 times the current performance rate of anybody else. And the CapEx bubble watch, fears of the AI infra bubble, that's all I heard today on CNBC, is the top in. Are we there yet? I mean, that's the first question Mr. Sorkin has these days on everybody.
Look, you know how I feel about it. I mean, I think the market is too toppy. I think it's nuts. I think we are in a bubble. I think it's way beyond what 2008 was now. I have just had long conversations over the weekend about how commercial real estate is going to crash. Not oh well, we may have it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. Crash. Okay.
We've
I'm
heard commercial real estate has picked up tremendously in the A cities. We just did a report on it a couple of weeks ago, you and
and
I. New
let
York,
me tell
San
you what the
Francisco, LA, all those cities, Miami, seeing records return to the office.
Return to the office, yes. But I had some interesting conversations that to me, and these are people that actually own them. Okay, so they
Yep.
know. Um, the three things that I think I heard the majority, I had to ask several times to make sure I understood what they were saying to me, because sometimes commercial real estate can be a little interesting. But the amount of debt that's coming due in the next 3 to 6 months is gargantuan. It is beyond anything they've ever seen before. And the banks are going to have a very, very hard time re upping those numbers with these commercial real estates. Second thing I heard was 5 years ago, right before COVID, all right, um, the, the percentage, the percentage of people in the office was 47% of two things: secretaries and holding paper, meaning that they were warehousing major papers like PDFs and things of that nature and documents. We don't need those anymore, and we don't need secretaries anymore, right? So those two things well, not coming back. So there's not a need for that. So what are we doing? Is it middle managers that are coming back? They're gone, right? Is it coders? Nope, because we have that. So who is coming back to the office? Who is Amazon and all these major companies asking to come back? And there's not, right? They're changing. So they don't even know who's coming back. That was the second thing that they said to me. Like, there's a big problem here. And the third thing is people that are or having to come back still don't want to come back. And if they do, they're making a deal to only come back 2 or 3 days a week. Still not a need for it, right? So that's what is interesting to me. Ron says, "Who's going to get the CEO's copy?" That's right. Look, this is a big question mark, and I'm not betting. And look, I've been looking for alpha, and I thought, okay, you know what? The only thing that hasn't really run that well is REITs. Maybe we invest. I'm not even going to do that. And so I think while you don't have it yet, I think you have a big setup for commercial real estate fall off here, a big one. So I'm not investing in commercial real estate at all. No REITs for me. No REITs for me. No
No
soup
read
for
for
you.
Steve. Okay. Steve, next we got to go over Fifth Third is going to acquire Comerica for about 10.9 billion,
Yeah.
become the ninth largest U.S. bank. That's one of my little local ones here. Fifth Third is a
Yeah.
Dayton, Ohio-based bank, so I'm happy to see that here. It's going to be an all-stock deal worth about 10.9 billion, closing the first half of 26.
Yeah.
Ownership split is 73% FITBs, 27% CMA. And it means the scale in the Midwest, Southeast, and Texas just doubled. You like this move for regional banks?
They need to. The regional banks are going to have to come together because the regional banks are in trouble. And we just talked about that a little bit. And just with commercial real estate, they don't have the money to be able to lend. And the banks are in trouble. We know that, right? With the new digital moves here, banks are in trouble, and they need to circle the wagons. And Fifth Third is making a very smart move here with Comerica. Because Comerica pretty much is I would say the retail banking industry, and Fifth Third's a little bit bigger in aspects of institutional banking too as well. And of course they have stadiums, so Fifth Third is not playing around. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
like this move. Yeah,
Yeah, the ninth biggest bank now. They consolidate to
yeah.
compete with the mega banks. More regional tie-ups likely with them, who came out of the CEO already. The question is it a relief valve or a red flag for credit quality into the beginning of the year?
Wow, that's a very good question. I just said the banks are in trouble, right? And I still believe that. They're gonna. Look, this merger and acquisition It's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a little while. They're going to have to merge some of their software and their the credit cards and all the things they offer. It's going to take a little while. I think over that time, they're going to figure out that they're going to have to cut some things in and out and become a much bigger company, offer more things to retail. Retail will have access to some institutional things. But don't think this is the only one. I think banks are going to do this a lot. I think a lot of the regional banks will become bigger regional banks. I know one back in my home area of Illinois, People's is a big one, right? There's a lot of banks that are going to be like right on the cusp of the being bought out or mergers and acquisitions. Maybe the other side, how they work those things out. But all these banks are going to come together. So if you are looking for a place to invest and you're interested in that, find banks that have a good cash flow. Find banks that that don't have a lot on their balance sheet for commercial real estate, because personal real estate is doing very well. Okay, right now, no, okay. It's not doing like wonderful, but it's better than commercial real estate.
Yeah. Okay, and you mentioned one of the things that is going to be headwinds for these banks is super apps, super apps, super apps. I've been the one that's been talking about this for a few months. Our SEC commissioner has talked very much about moving all of the markets on chain, and the fact that they are going to carve out regulatory sandbox for these super apps. Galaxy Digital, one of my favorite companies, Mike Novogratz. I have to say, this is one that I just kicked myself in the butt for. I haven't bought this thing. I've been talking about it. I have it all marked up on my charts, and I haven't pulled the trigger. I have no idea why. And it just keeps on moving to the upside, up like 100% year to date. And I think they still have a lot of room to move. Galaxy Digital is only a $13 billion company compared to those Robinhood, Coinbase, other ones that are at a $100 billion company. And I think Mike Novogratz might have a winner on his hand.
He had a winner on his hands when he decided to step in the game. Mike Novogratz knows his thing, right? He knows what to do. And he has a team around him that's very smart, and creates and builds.
Well, in his world, you talked about it. His classmates at, I forget if it was Wharton or wherever, were Mark Andreessen and some of these other guys. They're all this little club. It's amazing the class that came out of that, wherever he graduated. Well, I forget what it is. I think it's Wharton. But when they graduated, that just absolutely.
And Mark Andreessen from my old friend from University of Illinois.
Yeah, right. But it's him and it's Peter Thiel and like all those guys all hung out together back in the dorm at the frat, joined the same frat, that whole type of thing. Galaxy Digital is going to offer stock, ETF brokerage, crypto trading, 4% cash APY, market money on your cash, premium yield products for accredited positions, going right after, like I said, Robinhood, Coinbase, SoFi, all of those sort of financials. It's going to be interesting to watch. He definitely, like I said, he comes from the world of Wall Street, so he's not one of those outsiders trying to step in. He's an insider just coming full circle there. I know we'll get our friend Ron all excited. How about Plug's momentum here? Nice little move to the upside here. They're up 67% last week, and we're seeing a continuation bid in the pre-market. The catalyst there is a string that includes their electrolyzer delivery and their target hikes off all the analysts lately. What do you think? Are you in it? They're still not profitable. That's what always scares me with these companies.
What have I been saying? M&A. Right, M&A is the key here. Plug could very well get bought out here, especially as the price goes up, and other companies have to realize they may be losing out here. There are some major players in this space, and they may say, "Hey, you know what? We'll just buy Plug, and we'll take their stuff too as well." I like that. It's a good move.
Makes sense. We are about 15 minutes from the open here. Tick is up about 199. It's been pretty positive here since about 9 o'clock. Advanced decline sitting up at 2743, top of the day. Also, we're going to have Mr. Flanagan on in a few minutes. DXY climbs up a half a point here, back at 98.21. Did get rejected right about the area he said to watch for a breakout from. So we'll find out what he thinks there. with AMD up 20-30%, not surprising to see the Qs. NASDAQ set to open up about 80 basis points. The S&P up about 30 basis points so far. VIX is climbing even with all this talk going here, 1683. Steve, we haven't even mentioned it. No real movement when it comes to the government shutdown, huh?
No, and I'll tell you, on Friday, I made it very clear that I sold about 25% to 50% of my overall and my portfolio. I sold about, believe it or not, Howard, I sold about half of my mutual funds. I made it very clear that anything that I had that was up over 50%, I sold. I sold down, right? I didn't sell all of it. I never do that. I don't like this market. I think the FOMO is off the charts, and people are just crazy right now. And what else? The word I heard the other day was, "Well, what else can we do with the money? What else are we supposed to do with the money?" Wow. Well, we're seeing that, right? We're seeing what other companies saying. You know what? AMD. We're seeing it. We're seeing the M&As, right? Well, I'm not AMD. Okay, that's great. But at the same time, there's going to be this position where let me put it this way. There's never been a time when the concentration into one sector has been this high, holding up the whole market, right? There's like 5 or 6 companies holding this whole market up, and that's a problem. The last time this happened was 2008 when the real estate market held the whole market up. And when it fell, so I don't like this market. I know I'm like a broken record. I remember, it's interesting because I'm going to go actually see him here in a little bit in New York, talking about the 2008 crash. He goes, it's the same thing, just different sectors, right? And believe it or not, it's the anniversary of it.
Right.
So here's what I'm saying, and maybe we should have. I'll talk to Michael Lidd here in a little bit. I know he's excited about the Chicago Cubs in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure.
But when I hear, but this time is different. This time it can't happen again. Look at the markets. Look at every time you talk, Steve, the market goes back up. The market went up almost every time. Just, there was a great actor, Christian Bale, who sat there and had the big old headphones on and didn't care what anybody said, and the market kept going up. S&P said, "Oh, look at that. Guess what? They're on the sidelines again." These major companies are supposed to be protecting us. Guess what? Are on the sidelines smiling again. And guess what? We have a government shutdown. So there's no data telling us the truth. So
Right.
don't tell me that, hey, I need to understand the markets because I see it, right? Numbers matter. And here's what's interesting, Howard. The number of people that are now going to alternative data to try to figure out this market, that's where we're at. Now, granted, we've already been there. We're already in alternative data. We already know that through Quasar markets, right? And that's what we built. So we already know where the market's going. But be careful out there. This market is not telling me that everything is hunky dory. Go spend time in an airport. My God, I mean, the airports are, the number of airlines that are cutting routes, business travel is down. I tell you that. I see it every day. Wow. It really is blowing my mind that there's a disconnect between Main Street and Wall Street. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I get it. Okay, it's a digital world. I understand that. I live it. I am it. Right. But when I'm hearing that manufacturing is coming back and it's not, that's a problem. Right. I was listening to Bill Clinton talk about it in a conference. He had Bill Clinton and a few others on the digital side. He says, "Do you know that there are 500,000 manufacturing jobs that are open? And how many people, that are not immigrants are taking those jobs? Zero."
I'll take the other side of that
Sure.
a little bit. I happened to read the Wall Street Journal had a great article this week on Sharpie and how they've moved all of their stuff back onshore to Newell factory in Tennessee and Kentucky, and the way that they did it. And the interesting part was, Steve, they took those people that were on that part and taught them to be techs, and they even sent them back to associate degrees and did all kinds of stuff. So I don't think it's not doable, and I think manufacturing
It's
done
very doable,
correctly
but it's not
can
happening.
be a
It's not
bonus. I don't think it happens overnight. Theirs took,
right.
years for it to actually come to fruition, but they're moving it all back on shore and they're saving money because of the shipping costs. Remember, if you got to ship, you got to
Sure.
ship. If you're selling a 30-cent pencil, that shipping cost becomes a lot.
Yeah, but they're shipping it.
And
They're shipping it by Panamaxes, and it's coming by boat, so it's not
yeah, but
overly
it
expensive.
still adds up. It's still logistics, and if you can pull logistics out and get your pen here in the U.S., I mean, they've shown it.
And
So
if that's the
we're
case, Howard,
seeing.
then
The question will be: do we see? And I'll put it into a company near me, like Crocs. Will Crocs be able to figure that out? And will they get an answer? Well, because they are manufacturing.
You're not wearing Crocs, are you? Listen, if this is the case,
No, I'm
Howard,
not. I have moccasins on today, but thank you.
listen, if this is the case, Howard, then the shores, New Jersey and California, will hurt because those are longshoremen out there that have jobs based in Elizabeth, New Jersey, one of the biggest ports. Actually, I think it still is the
Well, I mean,
biggest
that
port.
has to happen, though. I mean, there has to be give and take. If you're going to
Right.
bring manufacturing in, then the ports get hurt, the railroads go up. And FedEx is a winner, and UPS is a winner because it's again cheaper to send something from Atlanta to Tampa than it is from Beijing.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the win there. So I do think there is a little bit to this manufacturing. It's going to take a while. It's not the answer to everything, and it won't happen overnight.
That's the key right there. It's not the answer to everything. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. It's not the key to everything. So I agree with that. Now, I'm really interested in the Sharpie deal. I think that's very interesting to me because are people still using Sharpies?
Big time.
Okay. This one I don't know.
I was blown away by the whole article. I mean, I take it for granted, but it's one of those that just dominates. No one uses any other markers anymore.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know the Sharpie world.
Yeah. And I can tell you in the restaurant business where you need markers to put what stuff is on, on your.
I use this digital pens.
Sharpie is a big deal. Sharpie is a very big deal. The number that they sell is crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, that is just insane.
All right, then, Howard, you have some homework to do.
It's like pencils, right? No one knew how much money there was in pencils until that guy, entered the top 10 richest guys. So that's what we see. Steve, another one we got to talk about. You and I were all over on Friday. I stayed in it, so I'm still there.
Oh, congrats!
I am looking at possibly taking a little profit here.
Yeah, take some profit off.
I'm definitely I have an order in for about half of it. Fly is what we're talking about here. And the only reason it's only partial is that, I put the wrong thing up there.
So, Howard, here's a good example of what I mean by technical analysis. This is what I mean by news. This is what I mean by volume. It is not one thing that how Fly caught my eye on Friday. Fly caught my eye on everything, right? This is what I tell people about being a trader. It's not just about one thing of, my chart showed me this. That's nonsense. Or the news told me this. This nonsense, right? It's everything. It's the intuition that you gain by trading day in and day out and day in and day out and learning. That's the key. It's not one thing. If you're just doing one thing and you're an algo trader, great. It's everything. And Fly caught my eye because the instinct of the volume, you can see at the bottom that it changed. If you pull up an hourly chart, I saw the volume begin to move into it. I like that. I saw that the news was starting to get a little positive, and I saw that Fly had really sold up. So the technical side of things also made me very happy. All of it. So all of a sudden I began to say, okay, look here, Firefly might be done here in the selling, and it's a good opportunity here. And we saw that opportunity. And sometimes I get out too early. I understand that, but I have big positions. Yes, congratulations everybody. If you stayed in that, that's a good move today. And I think
I'm still targeting that 36 with my second half here.
There you go.
I really am.
And that's the technical side of it, right? So it's not one thing. Now it's news. It's all of it, right? So makes you a much better trader than just being a one-sided trader.
Yeah, so they are looking to buy SciTech here for approximately $855 million. And it's got them off of the floor there. So good to see that. It is a cash and stock deal expected to actually close by year end. So it boosts their missile warning tracking and data analytics stack for defense space missions. That's the other reason, as I started to read through it, that interests me was this has to do with ONDS's attributable drones. And I do think that those are going to be a big part of our military as we continue to grow in our military. Drones, drones, drones. Yeah, I was going to put that up for you. Ron, it's kind of hard to rush into an IPO would be the first statement I would make. SEC makes that a little harder. And that rush has been on since Circle went crazy, I would say, 6 months ago. Right?
Yeah,
And
I mean, obviously, the
IPO. This has already been in. The Russia companies trying to get into the IPO is already well underway. We know Gemini, Kraken. There's just a whole list of them that are already lining up. And the problem is, like I said, is it doesn't. SEC slows you down. There's a lot of steps you have to do, and there are steps that actually take time. Like you have to do this over the next 90 days before we go to the next level. So there is going to be a lot before the end of the year that are already on track. A ton of tech ones that you're going to see come out. So yeah, you nailed it, Ron. They are on their way for sure. We are 2 minutes from the open here. Steve, we haven't even talked about crypto. Gold at a record. Bitcoin sets an all-time high. Shutdown drags on and no one cares.
Yeah. Over the weekend, when we hit 125, I don't remember what it was, I sold even more Bitcoin. I'm continuing to sell Bitcoin off here. It makes me feel the same way that I felt at 19,000 when I sold the big chunk off and I bought back in. These runs to the upside are being sold off, but they're making new highs, and it is what it is. Look, the stock market can't go up, the gold market can't go up, and the Bitcoin market can't go up at the same time. If it does, something's got to give. And you know what? I'm okay with all of it. I'll take profits on all of this stuff as you run. And have powder. There's always an opportunity. Just because I'm taking some profit up doesn't mean that I'm wrong. It just means that maybe I'm early. I don't know. I'm not trying to time the market. I don't time the market.
I had told the crypto crew take profit at 124.5. We took a little bit. I sold some of mine. Just because inevitable, and quite honestly, also for the rotation, because the alts haven't run up with Bitcoin. So Solana to me looks poised to go to 250. Ethereum wants to hit 4,800. So it's time to rotate a little bit for me. I'm not pulling it into cash yet because we haven't had the alt season yet that we see before we get that blow off top in crypto. But I do think that Bitcoin could stumble a little bit, get a little bit of a sell-off as that rotation happens. And again, I'm not selling, a large percentage. For me, 10 to 20% is all that I, ever sell. The rest is in long-term staking and everything else. But I did take some profit, and I do say, and it could run to 133, 134 here. But again, it wouldn't take much for the economy again to see that 20% sell off. Also, are open.
You saying
here we go.
Yeah. Are you liking Solana here even more?
I do. I like Solana. I like Ethereum. I like Avalanche. I've been a little disappointed with XRP over the last week, so that means it will probably blow to the upside because I'm disappointed in it. But those are sort of that next level is what looks like it's ready to pop here. And Bitcoin's open interest has blown up a little bit more than theirs has on the futures side. So it means that we haven't seen that direct rotation yet. I'll also be watching over the next 2 days to see, did the whales continue to accumulate this weekend? If they did, that will be bullish. And I don't mean MicroStrategy when I say the whales. I mean, what we had seen was the Chinese, Asian OG crypto whales had been selling at these highs, and that hasn't been the case for the last week and a half. They've been back into accumulation. That usually is when we're ready to make our next run. We are still moving to the upside here. Tick is positive 213. It's stayed positive so far since the open. We do see Q's pretty much flattened out right about that, up 84%, 84 basis points, 84%. SPY up 33 basis points. Dow Jones does open up 9 percentage points to the upside. NVIDIA getting hit pretty hard here along with Meta. Steve, Tesla, we didn't even talk about that yet, up 3% here. Mr. Musk, there's
I'm
rumors.
actually looking at Tesla right now, thinking about shorting it
I
again.
got it on the screen here for everybody. The talk is that tomorrow they will either release a new roadster or a new mass-produced car. They have been some teasing on Twitter, so I'd be careful there today, because I do think just like I don't mess around with the XRP community, I don't fade the Musk when there's news and tweets out. So I will warn you on this one. This is very tweet set. This is very tweet oriented. There's a lot of resistance above it. I'm with you. I just, like I said, this is one of those days I think you could see a run back up to the 470 level. Remember, it took a big hit the last couple of days.
Yeah, it has.
That's the difference too. So that one's got me, that would have me a little nervous today. Apple recovering nicely here. Steve trying to break back up to 260, almost at an all-time high. Like we said, those downgrades and everything were all hogwash. Bitcoin holding up at 124.6 here. Did blow down a little bit towards the VWAP, but not really. Just bouncing right at the midpoint on that linear regression. Nicely holding up, to be honest with you.
I did sell some here Tesla at 444.69.
Nice. I do need to check my accounts here. We have a partial exit out on an MSTR, broken wing butterfly in our room. Oh yeah, nicely up. Come on, baby. We got a few things going on. We're in a Solana trade looking nice here. Got a partial exit already now at 234. We actually re-entered because we were out on the futures. We had already hit our profit here, looking for a run towards 250 on Solana. XRP, like I said, disappointing me a little bit. Keeps running up towards that 310, but hasn't broken to the level to get us to our profit level there. I do like Avalanche for a breakout here. It's been consolidating nicely just below a key fib level, trying to challenge it again here today. Bitcoin 124.750, so now moving back to the upside.
And I've sung a little bit more Tesla here on this run here. I don't like this. Yeah, I get it that it's a news of a new possible car, but
like I said, I'm not telling you the thing.
Yeah.
For me, it's just about the tweet. It's just tweet analysis, not technical analysis, that keeps me from shorting it. Is that it just is one of those ones that seems to, just that community will run it up, and especially if there's any institutions on the other side. Tick has gone negative here, down about 135 so far. Advanced decline. Bounced down to 2,000 on the open. So while still elevated, still down. Tell you what, Robinhood's having some struggles today. And I mean their app, not them. Because they're actually up nicely. 152.50 there, man. Robinhood just continuing to move to the upside. Same thing with Coinbase, 388. It might hit that 410. That just got a 410 upgrade the other day that started this run to the upside. It could hit that 410 this week. Gotta love it. Man, Iron. Ron, are you still in Iron? Up 13.24% here now, 57.14. And the reason is they're the energy. They're part of that energy that all of these companies are bidding on. Now a $15 billion company. That might be a little much.
Howard, I have an order in to sell Tesla at 442.50, and I got that. So there it is.
Nice.
I thought that, look, this run on Tesla is a little bit premature, and I mean, there it is, 441.98. I'm a little, but I shorted pretty heavily. right? And took that money and ran. So why not? It's, Tesla's been pretty easy here for me. I've had no problem playing the Tesla game. Yeah. It's a nice little run this morning for me. Yeah. That didn't take long. Woo! Nice run.
Moving to the upside here, liking what I'm seeing here across crypto. Tick back positive slightly.
Yeah.
Dow Jones pretty flat on the day, up about 2-3 basis points here. S&P starting to get a little bit of a bounce. It fell below VWAP here, see if it can recover. Up about 30 basis points, and the Qs bounced right off of VWAP back to the upside, up about 74 basis points so far.
Okay. Nice moves here this morning. Yeah, I'm looking
positive here, moving to the upside. Oh, Ron, you were killing it. You were killing it with that iron. You got me on it. Gold 39.36. Steve, when do we see 4,000 this week?
Pretty soon this week. Yeah, I think this week. I mean, especially the shutdown and shutting down and staying shut down. There's nothing going to happen here. Look, I'll tell you one thing that's interesting to me, and I'm looking forward to seeing Steve Flanagan a little bit here. Is the dollar? I mean, the Dixie against the Japanese yen, dollar yen over 150 earlier today. I'm just very happy about that when I go to Japan. So I'm very happy. I want to buy some more chopsticks.
Their election was there.
Watching this market here, Howard, I got my next to me as Apple being negative on the day. You need Apple to hold the whole market up here. So it is interesting here to me. I mean, Intel now up 2.5%, and Nvidia only being down 1.25% here. So I don't think people are too nervous about it. Are you? Do you take some profit there on fly?
I don't know, because my app is down. I'm trying to get things going here. I told you Robinhood's down. That's not a joke.
The whole thing is down. Oh my. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Again, why we're building quasar markets, so you have more. You have more than one ability to trade. I've always.
I do have multiple, but the trade that was open is in there, so that's where I'm in an open trade. I've already made some other moves there, and I think it's up. From what I'm seeing, it's up on the
good
website. I just got to get it up. I just have to load it up myself. Yes, it's me.
Good to hear.
But yes, I will be taking, and I already loaded it in. It's just a matter. I don't know if it exited. I put in positions to exit that to roll over in SM. No, they're down. They are down.
Let's bring Steve Flanagan in here. I have a short morning here. Let's bring Steve Flanagan in here.
You got it, Mr. Flanagan. How are you doing today, my man?
Doing well. Morning, and welcome back to New York, Steve.
I love New York. I probably could be the mayor if I keep it going here. But I have to ask, Steve, you've been strong on the dollar here. Dixie up. And I'm happy about dollar yen for obvious reasons. Wow, Steve, that earlier in the day I was talking about Firefly and why, as traders, it's not always about the chart. It's not always about news. It's about everything, right? And as you become a trader, you and I, long-term traders, I mean, 30, 40 years, it becomes the intuition, right? All of it that we do becomes one big thing. And Steve, I mean, that's what makes Steve Flanagan Steve Flanagan. It's not just the fact that you understood charts, not the fact that you understand the news or what's going on around the world, because you got to learn that anyway. It's as you build that as the intuition around it, and you have that, and you gave it to everybody here at Quasar Market. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, Steve, sometimes it's better to be lucky than skilled. No question about it.
No, come on.
Come
Well,
on, Steve. That's what we're talking about. You're the reason, right? I mean, that's that, 40 years of understanding JP Morgan, the desk, understanding it. You didn't just grasp that knowledge overnight. I had somebody text me earlier, somebody I did not know on LinkedIn, and asked me, goes, well, is this still an advantage of having 35 plus years of trading advantage over us new traders, because we're in the new economy and you're in the old economy. We're in the new economy too. What are you talking about, right? Like, we're living it too, right? So yeah, and this is why you nailed it.
yeah, I mean, being an old trader doesn't mean that you're slow and you're out of date. What it means simply is that the basis of your decision making has been tried, tested over a long period of time,
Yes.
and you've refined. Steve, you used the word today that I always pass on. It's an intuitive ability to kind of see over the curve, around the corner. So what have we had here? A big thing that just happened was the French prime minister has
Yeah,
resigned.
that didn't last long, did it?
27 days. So now the president, Macron, is faced with, do I try a seventh prime minister, or do I dissolve the National Assembly, their Congress and Senate, and have a snap election? I believe that's what he's going to have to do. Second
Snap
point
election.
second is Japan. Now we've got the LDP. The LDP is the Liberal Democratic Party, the leading party in Japan since World War II, and they have been suffering at the polls. Hence, the Prime Minister Ishiba is resigning and leaving October 15th. The LDP has nominated the first female, only 64 years old, too. So that's considered quite
Very young in Japan, yeah.
In Japan. So she's going to no doubt take over on October 15th. Now, what does it mean? It reduces the chances of Bank of Japan making an interest rate increase. Why? Because she's big on expanding the fiscal policy, following like the previous Abenomics. She doesn't want to. She wants more government spending. She wants lower taxes, cash support to the households, and she's been very critical of Bank of Japan in proposing a rate hike. So that's another huge stimulus on top of the last point, OPEC increasing, production. So a lot of stimulus on the horizon in the world.
But will she have some pushback from Ueda, who is Bank of Japan's, I guess, the chairman there? I mean, man, you mentioned Abenomics, which is the former. You have to ask the question. I mean, can she get all these things passed? Because the LDP is very popular in Japan, even though the numbers are coming down. She's still got to get some of these things passed through their Congress, Parliament.
Well, being the first woman, I think, is going to have a lot of sway, and she does strike a tune that the opposition has been pushing. So yeah. I would say Ueda is a textbook. He's a long-term politician, because that's the way the Bank of Japan works. It's kind of a cut with politics too.
That's right.
So I would believe that he loses nothing, because the Japanese numbers haven't been overperforming, and that inflation number has been ebbing lower. Remember, in Japan, we want inflation because they've fought deflation for 25 years. I don't think he does anything by stepping aside for one meeting and allowing some time with the new prime minister.
Okay, that's a good question. That's a very good question, and that's why you're seeing the push now in the Dixie over the yen now. Correct.
Correct. You've got the dollar yen up around 149.88. So now threatening. Most people are now suddenly reversing. because yen has been, as we talked last week, the safe haven to the government shutdown. So when this happened, that was an unbelievable reverse of positioning. If you looked at a chart and saw where dollar yen opened, the first print on Sunday or Monday in Asia, it was already 100 points higher. So that's one. And, so that's a very big point here to be watching with the Dixie. The second was, of course, the French prime minister, and the euro has a huge part of the dollar index percentage, over 50%. So right now you've got a point here with the dollar index 98.22. Last week's close 97.71. We're above it, but the point I gave everybody was 97.77, which is the Q3 close. Why is that so important? Because the world is very short dollars, and as we go into Q4, the book rebalancing could be massive. So watch the level 97.77. That's a key level of support. And 97.71 last week. Oh my goodness, you're at 98.22. This is like almost a layup here. You could put a 40-point stop loss with the possibility of revisiting 100, and tripling. So you've got a triple top take profit side with a minimal stop loss. That's how I love to trade. And to the new schoolers and to the traders, the younger, look, I want to minimize my stop loss and I want to let the take profit run. There's nothing old school about that. That I've learned over 40 plus years of trading.
Yeah, and with the headwinds of the government shutdown, you would think the dollar would be getting hit too, and it's not. So I think the dollar continues to push higher. That's all. I think you're right.
Steve, what does that tell you? We all know this. And again, you reference the point. So to the new traders out there, to the viewers, when something happens, government shutdown, everybody says sell the dollar. Of course, that's the knee-jerk reaction.
Right.
But when it doesn't happen, that just gave you all the smoke, just got pushed aside, and you could see right through what's going on in the market. Everybody was on the bid. Simple. Right. There were more buyers than sellers. So immediately, that was a key signal to at least begin to exit your short dollar.
And that's the closing out those shorts. Yeah, very good. Yeah, absolutely. Smart. I like it. Yeah.
And then we look at the stock market today, because now suddenly you've got two mergers out there. Well, not mergers necessarily. AMD News with
right. Absolutely.
And then you've got Fifth and Third, Howard, right into your zone here. Fifth and Third with Comerica. That's a big regional merger here.
Absolutely.
Sector. So, another big plus. Lots of pluses. So I'll give a little bit of a look ahead. Here's where I'm going to really put in my position. I am long U.S. dollars. I went long last night once I began to see what was developing in the yen. I didn't know that the French prime minister was going to resign, but I felt there was enough on the table for me to reestablish my long dollar. But you have the U.S. trade balance on Tuesday. Now, if that suddenly drops into under 60 billion or under 50 billion, you've got a situation here where, whatever you think about tariffs, but suddenly the U.S. trade deficit is looking like it's coming under control. That's a big point. Less, what does it mean? It means there are less sellers of the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
There are less foreign companies that have dollars every month. When you're running $100 billion surplus deficit a month, that's essentially, if you don't want dollars and you are an exporter to the United States, you are going, well, I got all these dollars. What am I going to do? Put them into the U.S. stock market? Okay, that works.
Yeah, but I'm on my way. I'm on my way to the NASDAQ today, Steve, and the national debt clock is right under that big sign that says we are. What is the U.S. national debt right now? Good God, 37.8 trillion.
Yeah.
Okay, $37.8 trillion. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot. But Steve, a wild card, and that's what there's no doubt political wrangling going on. you shut the government down, and you could quickly curtail a lot of the workforce, and you could quickly implement a lot of your strategies in which to cut that deficit. Don't know. That's an unknown, but it is something that's out there. And I tend to think, when you look at the government shutdown, what is really shutting down? All the things that people need are not shutting down. Social Security.
I don't know about that,
That
Steve.
changes pretty quickly, Mr. Flanagan. As
there's a lot of data out there,
guys. The thing is nothing's happened yet. In other words, as you look for labor reports and CPI data, and that stuff's not there, that's what starts to happen. There are a lot of things that aren't. The same thing, the IPO. About IPOs, you can't have an IPO because the SEC's closed. You can't get any decisions on SEC, on the ETF regulations, on the new approvals, there's a lot of things that matter. A lot that are shut down.
Meat packing inspections, USDA. I'm not, and new drugs cannot get passed. Maybe people.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that don't matter, maybe on a daily or even maybe a weekly, but when you get to the monthly, that really do.
That's long term. You're absolutely right. Don't question that at all. That's absolutely right. But this is a short term phenomena.
Okay, short term.
Yeah,
you are saying short term.
I don't think it's a short term phenomena. They're not even talking. I don't hear any. My people in DC say it is crickets. Everybody's gone home, so to speak.
And you've got a deadline.
Is it that bad, Steve?
Yeah, I believe.
Is it that bad? Is it that bad?
I don't think it's that bad. I really don't think that the government shutdown is a big deal at all. I think most people out there, on Main Street are like, yeah, shut them down, will you?
I will say that, I went through the airports, and we asked, as you know, I do my channel checks. TSA said, nope, we all showed up. We all expect to get back pay. I don't know about that. But, they all showed up. So you're right. The Main Street, there is a disconnect between Wall Street and Main Street and the government. There is this huge wall in between all three of them. And we're seeing it firsthand here. So maybe you're right, Steve. I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm just not going to completely agree with you because we do need the government for a lot of things, right? We do need it.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But I think on a day-to-day basis, I think a lot of people would be like, look, I don't want to hear any more from these people. They are so disconnected from me and my daily life. Get rid of them all. Like I said, the day of the old time plus 70-year-old politician is rapidly disappearing, because I think the youth movement throughout this country is growing and getting stronger every day. And they are not politically affiliated. What they are is let's get things done.
Yeah, I agree with that 1%. Yeah. It's a get done kind of mentality, which we haven't seen in the last generation, and it's bothered me. I like this new generation coming up. They are strong, and they've also seen their parents go through nonsense, right? So they don't want to do that. They're like, I don't necessarily need to buy a home. I'll just keep renting. I don't think they're the smartest when it comes to economics, right? Buying meme coins and things of that nature. It's more of a gambling mentality, right? But other than that, I think that they are a get stuff done. And they're voting in blocks. They're voting in mass, right? They're because of social media. They're the TikTok generation and the generation of socializing that social media, meaning that they're becoming groups and stuff like that. So I agree with that, but the group isn't like a small group that we're used to. It's more of a bigger mentality groups that they're investing in.
Yeah, and with that type of social media, Steve, they're not into the fantasies that the politicians begin swirling. Right. Like, oh, they're going to cut this, and next thing you know, they're going to do this. They're like, well, that, I don't believe that. You know what? It's not happening today. And today, this is what my problems are. I really don't care about your fairy tale. And that's where politicians have just totally disconnected with people, which I would then say, this is where Trump connected with people. He started talking right into their wallets. He started talking about today. Now again, he's floating the idea of tariff money getting, being tax distributed to the people. Look, the fact is that the burden of the government is just too big on the daily lives of people. People. Doesn't matter what your political, you don't want the government to be telling you what to do. You don't want them to be doing all that. And I think that that's the change that the kids, the youthful generation is beginning to echo throughout politics. And I think, when you begin to see Chuck Schumer up there, yakking away at what he thinks, I think he's just got a total disconnect.
He does. I agree with that. And I think, Chuck, the Senate needs to come together to get some bills passed. And I know they're holding out for the healthcare issues of Obamacare.
Right.
But now we're going to call it Trump RX. It's to me.
Yeah, I know, silly, but you know what? If they come together, and I do believe my thesis is it's a shorter term shutdown, and they will get some agreements. The dollar is just primed for another surge higher, because once you begin to get a functioning government that suddenly gets some sort of coalescing of ideas, I think that, you're going to be looking, there's a lot of stimulus in the pipeline. And, when I talk dollar index, don't forget, as Howard will always correct me, all this money that has been committed to the U.S., is it coming in? Well, nobody's going to pre-announce that I'm on the bid buying dollars to invest in the U.S., but the charts are definitely showing a consolidation along the bottom.
And if these companies are coming back, they have to buy them in dollars, because they have to buy our land and our companies, and they're moving things back here. So it's got to be in U.S. dollars, and oil. I mean, it's all in dollars. So
Yep.
I kind of see your point where you're saying that there is this crunch on the short squeeze of the dollar, even though we're in a government shutdown, even though we have a disconnect in a president at a 41% approval rating. So yeah, I think you're totally right, Steve. We have to push that out of the side and think about where. But is the disconnect still in the stock market? Is the disconnect still in crypto? Is the disconnect still in gold? Because if the U.S. is doing great and the world's doing great and the dollar is pushing up and gold is pushing up and the stock market's pushing up and crypto's pushing up, something's got to fall.
Well, the world isn't doing great. That's a key. Right. The
So
US,
what is it that I'm missing? Why am I head am I selling stock, and why am I selling crypto, and why am I selling my gold and silver off?
a perfect scenario, Steve. You just painted the correlation that exists in the world today. What is so big about correlation to the viewers? When correlations break, everything, all the computer models immediately begin to execute. So the correlation right now is your tech and your and crypto seem to be moving. The dollar has been floating down. It's not necessarily making advances down, but it's not going up, except in this last 24 hours. If the dollar were to move sharply up, then all of the negative trades, the hedging trades of the stock market, may end up having to unwind. So that is a key concern of mine. If the dollar were to move sharply up, watch equities topping, because if you be having to cover your hedge in the dollar, then you're left naked with your equity portfolio. And I worry if the dollar gradually moves, then everything stays fine. But I do say if the U.S. agrees to open the government and there is a consensus, watch out for gold and crypto to get hit. Again, if they get hit hard, then the equity begins to be the pivot, where I don't know if people say I'm taking profit in crypto, taking profit in my portfolio in gold and silver. I'm left sitting with my profit in equities. Do I just leave it naked because I have hedges? And that begins to be a big concern. So I want everything to move slowly. I want all the correlations to remain in place. Maybe they trade sideways, which leaves the U.S. equity market upside room to continue. So that's what we want to watch, correlations. You want to make sure everything kind of stays within the bounds of allowing people to execute, unwind certain
Okay.
parts.
So what is it that we viewers here need to look out for? What is the telltale sign that you're going, okay, time to start to make some moves here?
Okay, 98.83 in the dollar index. If that were to break sharply, that would be a concern to me. I think gold could touch 4,000, but I would be very careful because you have to understand that in that market, it is a supply and demand issue. How much gold is in the world? How much gold has been mined? When these central banks keep buying, they're not turning it around and selling,
Yes.
right? When you break 4,000, it is going to be a highly option related level, meaning all the option players are saying right now you can sell options and earn the premium and say it's never going to break 4,000. But if it breaks 4,000, all these option positions have to cover.
Yeah.
There's probably, and I'll relate a quick story. When gold was trading down at 380, I remember one of my big option traders turned to me and said, well, I would buy gold. And I said to him, why? Gold doesn't go, and I'm talking back when it was 380. You can realize the date I'm talking. And he said, well, if gold breaks 400, the option positions alone have to buy more gold than is presently in the world. So a supply and demand imbalance. Right. Gold had to go up. I would say that probably 4,000 represents the same thing. So what am I watching? I think if 4,000 breaks, you're going to get a snap and it's going to jump higher. But I would be very careful about the next side of that move.
So would you put an order? Would you put an order in to sell gold and silver at a little over 4,000, 4,100, 4,200 because it's going to probably jump?
Yeah, but I always, if I have a strategy like that, then I want to get executed. So I would put it at 4,017 because I want them to run right through me and I want to get executed. I don't want to see a 4,005 print.
415 and you never get a fill.
Right. And then the next price is 3,997 given. So yeah, that's the way I would trade it.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I know the BigBeat's got to run over to the NASDAQ. Mr. Flanagan, what else are we watching before Wednesday?
Well, the trade balance on Tuesday is going to be big for me. And, I'm just going to keep watching these levels. I'm in the dollar. I do like this 98.20 level because 98.18 was 2 weeks ago's close. And last week was 97.71 in the dollar index. So I'm above it. Quarter three was 97.77. I'm above it. So I do like the setup in the dollar, but the world is still very negative to the dollar. So I'm not thinking that it's just going to run to the top side. But Tuesday, if you come in with a much lower print and a trade deficit, watch the dollar beginning to get legs and trade higher.
Awesome. Thank you so much. For BigBeat and myself and Mr. Flanagan, everybody, be safe out there. I think the key is take profits along the way, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning, everybody.